Okay, so welcome to this G100 chairs meeting in September the 28th. And it's wonderful to see you. And I'd like to introduce Elaine, because I haven't actually processed her, so to speak, but she would like to be country chair for Portugal, because although she's British, she lives in Portugal now, and is a great advocate for certainly everything that we stand for, I believe. And I would just be great if you just quickly introduce yourself so Elaine knows who you are, and it gives you a chance to air a 1 minute sentence from yourselves. So for us, maybe explain your role here.
Well, I've got a minor role here. I'm more a listener,
not minor.
I guess they call me the he for she champion. So I am the Denim Club partner for Pauline on our mission together.
That's right. So every chair is invited, is suggested that they invite a male partner, and of the whole global chair, Feroz is our go-to man. So he's not a minor part in this at all. And actually, he's in those of you who know Feroz, he is an absolute mine of information, and is always observing articles from all across the world about the issues of balance and authentic harmony between men and women. So you are very, very important to us, Feroz. I just want you to know that. So Clara, you have 1 minute to explain to Elaine who you are.
I think Elaine's met me already, but just in brief, I've been on a mission for a very long time, since a young woman, when I suffered from severe anxiety attacks, to really shift the lens for women and shift the dial for what it actually means to show up. And then along the way, I discovered my gifts as a seer and empath and all the rest of it. So I've come with a couple of different lenses, and, you know, really sharing the energy intuitive work, which is what I'm really here for. And the G100 just completely aligned with everything I'd been on since a young woman regarding how we communicate with each other. And being a Libran, harmony is something I strive for in all things. So here I ended up.
Absolutely. And just to clarify, she is the chair for UK. So I just want to make sure that Elaine understands the geography of this as well. So let's go to Maureen, because Maureen represents the USA, which is a very large arena. You're on mute, Maureen. Maureen, you're on mute. Maureen, we can't hear you.
Oh. Oh no.
1 second.
There you are.
So everybody, hello Elaine, welcome. I am Dr. Maureen McIntosh Alberts, and I'm a transformational leadership coach with a faith-based focus. With over 35 years of experience, I empower leaders to unlock their true potential to navigate diverse landscapes and find purpose in both their personal and professional lives. So I've witnessed the profound impact of faith on leadership, and I'm here to help leaders, especially female leaders. I work mostly with faith-based female game changers, to turn challenges into opportunities, to build resistance and lead with unwavering confidence. So I take leaders on a transformative journey where faith meets leadership. And together we all achieve their goals, guiding them towards a life of purpose and impact. And I'm here representing the United States, and I'm happy to be here with you. Thank you, Pauline, for giving me the opportunity to be able to serve with you on such a laudable goal.
Fantastic. And another new wonderful chair who's come in to build yet another large country, Canada. Cheetah is very new to us. We did have a chair for Canada a while backwards, but she had other pressures in her life. So Cheetah has come in to be that representative. So Cheetah, just explain very briefly your role and your interest here.
Thank you, Dr. Pauline, and hello to everyone. I'm Chitra, and I would be heading Canada chair for this wing. And I am an educationalist by profession, but definitely we are, and rather I would like to encourage women leaders in entire world. But no doubt, we don't want to leave our male friends also. We would like to get them into our team as well, because we both work together. So women leaders are one part, but we need support of men also to lead this wing and lead the country where you are from. And also at the same time, our aim is to develop new leaders in community, encourage youngsters to come forward and bring them to this table and help them to become leaders in the world, because they are again our future for our entire world. So our aim is to include youngsters as well, the new upcoming leaders, and everyone, those who are interested in helping community, helping society through their work and experience. And I really am thankful to Dr. Pauline for giving me this opportunity, and we will work towards it, definitely. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
And it is very important that we develop our new leaders, men and women, and I certainly applaud that. So Elaine, just to explain, these are country chairs, but we do also have two, I'm not sure what you're calling them in England, but they, Nina and Valderine are regional or county members, because in England we have counties. So they are subset to the UK growth. And so very quickly, Nina, say hello and tell us who you are and why you're here.
Hi everyone, hi Elaine, welcome, and Chitra, Lekka. So I'm Nina, I'm a sensitive leadership coach. I support and I'm trying to encourage more sensitive women to step into positions of leadership, because I think the world would be a much better place with more sensitive female leaders, especially. And I'm, as Dr. Pauline said, a regional chair in the UK under Clara.
Fantastic. And Valderine, Val, I'm going to call you Val, that's easier. Val.
Yes, that's fine, much easier. Hi everybody, I'm Val, and I'm a regional chair here in the UK as well under Clara. I'm in East Sussex. I'm a women's transformational coach as well, and like Nina, I mingle in the highly sensitive space, which is where we met. So although my work and my circles are primarily with women, this year it's taken a little bit of a turn, because the workshops that I've done, a lot of men have taken an interest in what I do, which is work with feminine archetypes, or do archetypal coaching work. And they've approached me to ask, how does this apply to men? And I'd be really interested in knowing more. So I've been curious about men's circle work for a long time, and I've been following a lot of these groups online, and it's now sort of manifesting very organically that men are approaching me, and I would really like to be involved more in more male and masculine spaces where we can do the feminine masculine alchemy together. Maybe work with male coaches to try and encourage men to step up, because it's quite tiring being the sex that holds up half the world, apparently. So we need we need the other side to be holding up the world with us. And what I've heard recently from the men I've spoken with is that they are also feeling that it's not just good enough to be good men or be better men than their fathers. We need actually quite a lot more to bring that equity into the agenda. So yeah, that's what I'm here for.
Fantastic, and thank you all. And I want to, I hope you all know, I'm very passionate about the harmony between men and women, and I have my own gender dynamics archetypes, which I will share a bit more about the program that I would love you all to be experts in. But I would invite Elaine just to give us a little insight into herself.
So thank you for the warm welcome from everybody. So although I'm in the Algarve in Portugal, I'm very much British through and through. And I specialise in working with lawyers and accountants. Having been a woman in the man's world, I've been chief executive of a number of law firms, and I run a big consulting division for Ernst & Young back in the 90s. Retrained as a health and wellbeing mentor. And that was because I had stage 4 cancer and I beat it in 4 months back in 2015. So I've got the health knowledge and experience, training, etc. I've got the corporate woman in a man's world, all that malarkey. And I have an MBA in legal practice from Nottingham Law School, which is one of the world's first. I'm one of only 38 people in the world who have this, and I call it my Up Yours MBA, because at the time I was running team meetings in a big city law firm, just little old me, and all these people around the table. And I was getting bored, and I saw this advertised, and I thought, right, I'm going to show you lot. So I ended up the only person in the whole firm, 1,300 lawyers with a master's degree. So I'm quite proud of myself for that. One of the best things I've ever done. But very, very much into women and men's equality, if there is such a thing. I don't know quite how we get it, because the world is so unequal at the moment. And yes, it seems to have gone completely mad. But at the moment, I'm a spectator. But let's see what we can do.
Thank you. And I'm very delighted to introduce your new energy and Cheetah. We have been working on this. So just a quick bit of history. I actually met Dr. Habina Bora. She started the G100 a couple of years ago, but I met her in 2017. When she was leading large conferences called the Women Economic Forum, interesting, called WEF, which everybody obviously, in fact, even the logo looked remarkably like the World Economic Forum. I'm not sure whether that was a deliberate move, but anyway, the World Women Economic Forum. And must admit, it was the first time I'd been in a room with 1,500 women and only a handful of men. It was a very amazing stage to be on. And there was a lot of workshops, and it was a whole week's program. I lost touch with her. Oh, no, I did see her in LA in December 2019 when she ran one there. And then I lost touch, and then she spotted me again last year and called me and said, would you want to be the chair for positive masculinity? And I was intrigued by that combination of words, because, of course, I work with gender dynamics intelligence, which is always about men and women and positivity. And then I discovered that there was a movement behind that, which was separate to the G100 positive masculinity, but it is important to recognize that there is a movement started in the Congo, DRC Congo, to encourage men to have a positive masculinity role model to young men, especially in order to the main goal to eliminate violence against women and girls. And 2021, they had their first conference. 22, I think they've just had their third one. If you follow this in LinkedIn, as I do, and follow it with the people that we know there, we do have a chair for DRC Congo, which is Pauline, as she's not here today, but to reach out to her as well to find out any more information you need. My apologies for dribbling. I have got a cold sore on my lip, so I'm not dribbling. I might look as though. Anyway, the thing is about the positive masculinity. When I took it on, and this is a very important part of it, it was actually the time I met Feroz, and I went to the convention for Rotary International in Houston, literally very shortly after knowing this. So I thought I'd try this out. So I tried out talking to men about positive masculinity, and there was actually a very favorable, oh, yes, what? You're looking at us in a positive way. And then I talked about authentic harmony, because my book is The Power of Authentic Harmony. And again, I had a very good response from both men and women, but especially men. And it is my experience that words matter. So we keep on going on about gender equality, gender equality, gender equality. And I was actually on a conference call this morning with the World Union of Small and Medium Enterprise, which I'm part of. And I felt it was a women's commission that I run there. And I felt very angry, I have to say, which is unusual for me, that we're still going round and round the same old circle and we're not joining the dots up. Because SMEs account for somewhere between 80 and 95% of GDP. Now, I don't know what the stats are in terms of the number of women inside that number, but I would imagine in my experience that the S of SME is mainly women. And the M, the medium-sized companies, are more likely to be men and some women, because women don't get the funding and the technology and all the resources as easily as men do. And it's a fact. And we know there's a lot of congestion out there about the value of women. So we keep on talking about the role of women. And I think we need to talk about the value of women because it's a different thing. I remember one time, this was before I ever left England, that's over 10 years ago, I was at an event where there was an HR director and they were talking about we need quotas for women in the boardroom and all this stuff. And he had the audacity to say to me, but the men will be afraid they lose their job. I mean, you can imagine my response. I said, I'm sorry, are you an HR director? I said, you shouldn't be saying that. That is not politically correct in terms of any respect. So I think we've focused too much on the role of women, gender equality. We need to really understand the value of women and the value of women in our own countries and our own regions. I hope you agree with this, is that we keep on going round and round this same old story, but women are marginalized. And in my experience, and I'd love to know your views, when anything is going wrong, which we know is happening now economically as well as socially and culturally, women get the worst end of the brunt. They are the ones that don't get the funds, don't get the technology, don't always get the support. Yes, we have got some really good examples of things going right, which is fantastic. And I think we need to highlight those. But I'm still listening to all the countries that we have. And I really want you to reach out to Rosa and to Marcella in Brazil and Chile, because I've been listening to what is happening in those countries. And it's a damn state worse than what's happening in our own countries. And there is real oppression for women. I don't know what's happening in Portugal. I get an idea what's happening in the UK. I watch what's happening in the USA and Canada. But I think as a voice, there's two things for me I want to explore is how do we have a voice independent of, if you like, not independent of G100, but within the G100 story? Because, you know, the document, which I hope most of you have seen, El Lagos, is a document that was put together by Dr. Harbin, which gathered together all the views of the 100 global topics. Now, I'm not sure we have 100 global topics, but there are many. And in that, our group, our positive masculinity group, got a mention in the last section, which was about gender equality, in saying that we need to go beyond gender equality to authentic harmony and a joint custody world. How do we move on that? So one thing is I want to be heard within the G100 network. I'm part of a WhatsApp group of the global chairs, and I do my best to keep up with all the messages in there. And the G20, and I don't know whether any of you followed the G20 recently, this document, ELGOS, was submitted to the Indian government, and the G20 was in Delhi. I'm sure Teacher's have been following this as well. I read all the reports coming out. I didn't see any mention of equality. I didn't see any particular mention of helping women to be more in balance with what is going on economically. So I looked at the G20 assembly. I don't know whether you did, but I think I spotted 2 women out of 40 men. And they weren't significant women in that sense of role. And the president, is it the prime minister or the president of India? I apologize if I got it wrong, but Modi said the most important thing since COVID is that we got to build trust. And I don't see people building trust between men and women in terms of what we can do. So I apologize if I sound very missionary on this, but I feel at the age of 74, I need things to start changing. I know Clara does. I'm sure all of you do too. And it really is, how do we do it? How do we make a voice which is not antagonistic and aggressive? I don't believe in that. I think it needs to be, I've always said this, we got to stop the violence, yes, stop the harassment, but we need to start the green light on what will be different. And for me, that conversation this morning about the percentage of women who contribute to the economic stability and the social stability and the cultural stability of a country is maybe where we need to focus on what could be different, what could be there. And that's why it is really useful to, not just useful, but imperative that Feroz is here, because Feroz, he is a very, I would say, a very good gentleman who understands some of the things that have been going wrong for women. And I don't want to keep on focusing on what's going wrong. I want to look at what could be better. Women contribute value to every community, and it's the recognition of that value that's not being accepted. So my goal is that we can bring this together in two different forms. One is documents and publicity that goes to the public or the world, but the other, which is I will take into G100 and with fellow chairs like Jennifer Rendive, who some of you have met on our panel. Jennifer is the head of the Global Chair for Oneness and Wisdom, and she totally is aligned to our thinking. We need to be proactive rather than reactive. Yeah,
absolutely.
So that's my my address. I want to know very quickly what your thoughts are on what I've said, and also the positioning, A, in G100 and B, in the world, or in your country in the world. There's two steps, I think. There's you in your country and us in the world.
Are you singling anyone out in particular to start, or?
Well, I was going to just ask Feroz for a quick male view on this. Is this? Are you willing to stand by us?
Oh well, that's why I'm here. No, but I think I don't know if I'm repeating myself. I said this last time, that we all accept that the female half of humanity, if I may call you that, has been marginalized, underappreciated, undervalued, subjugated in some societies, and abused in many others. But you have not been valued for the skills that you bring. The other half, I've said it often enough, I'm incomplete without my female half. And there are a lot of males who think that way, more and more, I believe. And you can see that in various surveys of different countries and so on. But I do believe that we have to move away from talking about, let's call it victimhood, because that's what, the female half of humanity has been victim to all these biases and cultural norms that were very antiquated and medieval, and some still exist in terms of what women can do and so on, and the roles that they play in society. We've come to a stage where we can continue to talk about this every week, every month, every wisdom circle. But how do we now start translating what we know very well into real deeds, actions that will result in real change? And if that means getting, men educated differently, or women getting skills that they need to be more successful as they compete in this world, whether it's in the professions or whatever, actions we can take in the education system to, impact the curriculum there at a very early age, so that boys and girls better understand that, how they can relate and work together and so on. And so boys grow up thinking differently about the role of women, rather than the nature of, being biased by the culture in which they grow up. So I think I'm hoping that we are at the stage of some actions that we can take. They don't need to be many, but in all walks in life, and that's how the suffragette movement started, right? When
Yes.
When the shift went from words to deeds,
Yeah.
and women started taking real action. So that's where I'm coming from. I think we are you are in a very powerful position in history, where a lot of men are beginning to think correctly, I think, and in terms of valuing the female half. But you still need to take a lot of actions, because there are cultural norms that are still out of whack in terms of the ability of women to earn equally, get the opportunity, and the kinds of societies that we still see out there in certain places where girls can't go to school and so on. Those are extremes, but that should never be here in the 21st century. So
Yeah.
I fully agree. Can I say something?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you, Feroz, for really a lovely conversation. What you mentioned, that we need to start by ourselves. We will have to show to community and to society that we are trying to change, and we are the first person to change the thought process of community. And give women a right, or a girl child, as you are giving a right, equal right, and explaining to community that we both are equal. So we need to work towards it. Would like to share something, if Dr. Pauline, if you give me a permission to tell something, if time permits, or maybe sometime again.
Well, okay, let's just have a quick comment from everybody, and then I'll come back to you. You mean you want to share
Sure, no
something?
worries.
So just a quick thought on I've put some notes in the chat. I want you to also, put your ideas in there, because there's so many different areas. Focusing on what the G100 as our group can take forward, and I posted the value proposition, is where could we make most difference? Is it in the boardroom? Is it in the financing? Is it in technology? Where is it? Clara, I know you have a view, and then we'll come back to Chita.
I don't know I have a view, but it's whether I condense it in the time.
Let's focus on the start, because we know what we want to stop.
Yeah, so for me, I'm already an action taker on this whole mission. I have been since I was born, probably. So I just keep stepping up. I am really feeling the value. I mean, I encourage women all the time around me. I always have done, but I feel like really stepping up with that. So I have plotted out over this next year a series of things that I am going to do on a personal level. And I would like to include my UK group as we grow, including the contributors. We have some very powerful women already in our group who are not chairs or didn't want to step up with that responsibility. But I said right from the get-go, I feel like with all the messaging and all the clever brains and all the various takes, that we could do a fabulous video talking into this. I'm certainly going to be writing a book around my own journey as a woman to inspire other women. And I feel like my leadership journey is just beginning, actually, and being part of this is really helping, because I feel like that as women come together and we voice, I mean, it's a bit of a complicated one, but my journey as an empath and a sensitive, I've written into this extensively where some of the human core wounds have arisen for women particularly, and that work that I do in my other work is addressing that. So I really want to, on a personal level, step up and speak into that a lot more. I want to gather women who I've got around me and celebrate those women, because I believe, you know, if we all flag each other and help each other. Now I have got two incredible women in my group who, and I think I've mentioned to Firoz, I may have mentioned it to you, that, you know, have led in high, you know, fairly high places and saw the not so nice side of things and actually step right back. So I feel like a video is really important. I feel like my gift as a scribe, with all the people's input, we could deliver something wonderful, whether that's as a group of women, and maybe that's what we need to do. My feeling is a really powerful message that we deliver, whether that's to our G100 as our group to make an impact with, you know, Pauline and Firoz guiding that. I think that would be extremely valuable, because I just want to say this, and it came to me as you were speaking, Pauline, that, and it's come to me many times in my life, like sometimes if you're seeing the bigger picture, not everybody is able to see it because they haven't actually gone there yet. It's the frog in the well story. You know, once you've jumped out and you've seen the possibility, you don't want to go back in the well, and yet all those people are still in the well. They're not having that same vision. And I think what we're living with in the world is a lot of women haven't tasted what some of us have tasted in the West, perhaps, where we've had education, we had blah blah blah, good food, all the rest of it, and we are much more able to articulate ourselves in a way that doesn't compromise our femininity anymore. Like the days of Margaret Thatcher hopefully have long gone, where we felt like we had to, you know, virtually wear rugby kits. No, actually, I feel safe in my soft power as a woman to show up now and do deal with men. So I think we need to help women get to that place and actually taking action steps. Well, all the groups here are all doing that in their own way. So how can we, as a collective, make that voice vibrate? And that's what I would want to say, really.
I'm just going to pause you there because there's some key points I want you to keep on focusing on. So, and the keynote, you know, I've been doing my keynote on cracking the leadership code through Authentic Harmony. I did it recently in Las Vegas. And there was a wonderful lady from South Africa there who is a HRH. She's a queen in her own environment, not a queen of the South Africa, but one of the things that struck me was she has a large area where she's looking at social cultural change. But she said to me, you know, I never thought about harmony. I was simple as that. She was still fighting for, you know, women to be having their pitch. And I go back to this thing that when you use the right words, people come on board. It's a Nelson Mandela, it's a, you know, Martin, it's all the people who bring people together. So just focus on where the keynote might be. I want to not look necessarily at some of our individual stories, but also where if say we each had that keynote, like I do, where do we place it that the most voices will hear? Because that, I think, is the thing is, yes, we need education programs, we need keynotes. I don't want to spend the time here on what that content is, because we've got lots of different ones. So maybe we need to bring those together on the Google Drive and look at what the key message is. That's why I posted the value proposition up again. So if we focus on authentic harmony, we focus on a joint custody world, we still interpret it in our own language for our own country, for sure. But we you know, I started this last May before this, sorry, 2020. And I just said, say goodbye to equality, hello harmony. It was very simple. And I've changed that into cracking the leadership code and more detail, but we got to stop and start. We've got to have that start point. What is it? So the other thing for me is, yes, we need these education programs, we need these keynotes, and then we need to know where we're going to place them. in Canada, in the US, in England, where are those in Portugal? So I'll give you an example. There's, and I don't know whether Elaine, you know this, but there's a group of women who do British women business in Parliament in the Westminster area. I'm not saying they're the most influential group, but they're another influential group who get their voices. Where are those influential groups in your own country? Where do you find those that we could then bring all of us in? So if we had a conference online with all of us on there, and also some of our faraway country chairs in Africa for sure, and even being in the Philippines, and I know she's never appeared here because this timing is really wrong, but I visualized, like we did the panel with Jennifer Randive, much more publicity about that. So not just G100, but to get to the likes of Sarah Blakely or Richard Branson. I mean, some of my favorite go-to influencers. And who are those in your own country? How can we take, once we hone the keynote and the statement, how can we take them to the people who listen? And I think for me, it's about us all iterating the same message consistently. We want men to be positive. We want men to be part of this. We do want harmony. We want it to be authentic. And how do we create a joint custody world? It means everybody comes to the table. And on the table, we put the education programs. We put the things that I was talking about this morning. Where are the financial resources? Where are the technology resources for the women who want to be expressing their value in an economic situation, and not forgetting all the women who don't want to be at work, who are still valuable in the world, and we don't want them to be oppressed. So I think that we've got some ideas there that I've been putting in there. Education, definitely. I know that we've each got different types of education programs, so we need to know how we can get it out. One of my challenges is we have got access to the G100 women, and I don't know how many of you looked online to search through those chairs. There are some very influential women in there, but I think it's about being selective and finding the ones that are really going to be energized by what we're about as well. So maybe we have some online presence with a video and a conference, but then we also get we get associated with other chairs. I'll give you an example. There's a really wonderful chair of sports entertainment, Carolina Garcia, who's down in Argentina. And this woman is a sports, she played football for 40 years. And it's not just about that, but she's very into making sure that in that arena, there's equality. So there are different places that we can search into. So I wanted to think about, as I put those keynotes on the chat, and maybe there's a focus where we can specialize in different ones. So it might be that somebody looks at business and somebody looks at education, somebody looks at the cultural role of women, how we bring these aspects together. So we join the dots up, because that's what I had a really hard time with this morning with the World Association of Business. They weren't joining the dots up. So, sorry, I'm very fired up about this morning. I think that getting our voices heard, sometimes the detriment comes from other women. And that's really what I want to be sure that we don't, it is about men and women coming together, but also there's an issue of having women be more cohesive and more harmonious. I just wanted, I'll come back to you in a minute, Gita, but I wanted to ask Dr. Maureen in terms of looking at the USA, where are the influence points? Is it in corporates, or is it in community, or is it somewhere else?
Well, first of all, I would like to say that I can speak to corporate America because I've been working in corporations for over, 50 years or more. And you wonder, well, how old is this lady? I started working in corporations since I was 15 years of age. So if you subtract 15 from 71, I've been working with leaders. So I would say, based on my experience, that where the influence, where I can, and as somebody said, begin with ourselves. Clara says, begin with ourselves. And we are the change. We need to make the change happen. So where we are most influential, where we have most influence, we start the change there.
Yeah.
So I had a thought, and you expressed, for Dr. Pauline, some of the thoughts that I was writing down. You probably saw me with my eyes away from the screen, but that's because I process. I'm a processor, and I write what I process. So here's the thought that I came up with. Why, first of all, for the past 9 months, we have been looking at heartfelt leadership.
Yeah.
And some of you much better than I do, even though I was the one who came up with the variables, and you embraced it. We all went through the whole year. We started with honor until we get to this month is Thanksgiving, quite rightly so. Next month is Thanksgiving. So we can start off with, here's the thought I have. If we start off with looking at, each one of us looking at the results that we got, the outcomes or findings that we got, let's say the top 3 or the topmost ones, let's say we take 5 findings. And we look for the commonalities and we express it in terms of where the change needs to be based on our findings from what we did this year. That's one thing. So we agree on where the change needs to be. The second thing we do is we make sure that we have that in a succinct document that we can use as our focus, our vision, at least not long. We have our long-term vision, but let's say goals, right? What goals we have based on what we have extracted from the research that we did. And we pick the things that we're going to focus on for 2024. Then each one of us in our centers of influence, here's what I thought. We invite people from our centers of influence. As much as possible, we find influencers who will make a difference and who would align with what we are passionate about.
Yeah.
We invite them to a summit, and we talk to them about what we have found, what we need to start doing, what we need to stop doing, and what we need to continue doing. So we bring people in, and let's say we have a 4-hour summit. I don't know how long it's going to be. We set up an agenda. We invite everybody that we know. We just send invitations out, because you talked about getting the people that we know. Who are the people? I would invite people, leadership, church leadership, community leadership, as many people that we can, and invite them to a summit. And it will be online, not, I would say online, because I saw Tony Robbins and those guys have over 22,000 people coming online from all over the world. Why can't we do that? You see? And then we talk about what we have found and who we are, so that we start making ourselves known now in 2024. We don't have to wait until we get perfect, but we can be excellent at what we do and let people know. And then that way we can get more people from America, from the different regions that you're in and countries that you're in to join our movement. That's what I have in mind.
I agree. And I think it's making sure that it's doesn't have to be equal numbers, but there was plenty of men involved who, for us, had to go, but who have ideas of how we can change. So as you know from my experience with my archetypes, if the ruler is, and Freud, for all of you, I'm sure you assess that, he's a philosopher. In my gender dynamics, he has that thinking, feeling, servant leadership style. But the ruler, who is the very action-oriented, decision maker, we really want to get them on board. I've been talking to a few wise rulers who are of, business standing. We want to find those in the corporate world as well, who will stand by the advocacy of women, but not just the advocacy of women, raising the value so that it's balanced. I'm trying to avoid the word equality. I want balance. I want integration. I want harmony. I want the buy-in from all these players. And that's what I see as a major conference online, which really makes it a marked difference. But we want some real high-level influencing names. I mean, I was just thinking of the guy that you introduced me to on LinkedIn, Clara, who's talking about what's going on in the UK. Maybe it's him, but I think we can find those voices in each regions and our countries, because we want to make sure that we're talking at an influencing level. And I'm not critiquing the G100 en masse, but over 1,500 women, there aren't necessarily the main influences there. And I don't know who those are in each country, but we want people who are speaking a very balanced language. Exactly. It's not polarized politically, it's not polarized educationally, it's not polarized anyway, but it is of a mindset that's creating something new, which embraces the value of women. When I say value, I mean their talents. So I know, Cheetah, you're very keen on the education of women, and I agree, but it's about education. For me, it's about changing education to one where you honor the student, not the content.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I just say something? Because what I just wanted to share into that about the influencers, and I feel like I've said, about having a summit before, and I've also said about, getting our key messages. So I agree with, Maureen. I think we were all of that mind that when we came to the end of this 9-month period, this incubation period, where we've really, dug deep into the men and the women, what the challenges were, I feel like that coming out of that, we've got some great material. And that for me is key, because the minute we get that material together in even a form of a video, which we might even be able to do ourselves, that then we can start putting in front of influencers. I've got some amazing people in my own circle of influence who are directly connected to major newspapers in the UK. Now, I've approached one or two of them. She said she might drop in, but I know she's very passionate because she has daughters too, and she's done a lot for TV, etc. So I feel like, it's those kinds of conversations that we say to her, like, well, we've done 9 months now. I know you couldn't come on board, but this is what the findings were. Would you like to report on it? Can we do something? I don't know. It's just, if we get our messaging right coming out of this, and I know we're all very passionate, and it might be that we do a bit of we might have to go away and write all our notes up, and and then come back and have a couple of meetings about that as we.
Oh yes, I think the centers of influence that we've alluded to and more into about is the center of influence in education. And we do have to be really careful that we're on the same message. So
absolutely.
Can I say something?
Who was
Can
that?
I say
Yeah, Cheetah. Sorry, you have to put your hand up. I can't see you. Yeah. So in terms of education, obviously you're in the middle of education, Cheetah, and I think it is about helping not just generally every bit of education, but really engaging people's imagination. Yeah.
My definition of education is not only related to university or college, what we do, but my intention is educating a mass how to live excellent life and giving
Yes.
importance to both of them. Education doesn't mean into the classroom. Now, yeah, so my intention of educating mass in a way that both men and women are the important ingredients of society. You cannot leave anybody. So we need to change the mindset of people. They should be taught or trained in a way that both gender are equal and both should be evaluated equally. So both are a component of society. You cannot neglect. And that education is what education I mean it, not in terms of students. We all are students for our entire life. We are studying and we are learning every day. So education is educating a mass in terms of having a good life and supporting each other.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the essence of what I actually wrote about today. So I'm going to share the link. This is a really important aspect of my mission in the world. So I'm just going to put the link in there, and I would invite you all to read what I wrote on LinkedIn this morning, because it aligns, as you know, Chila, it aligns with your thinking about education. It's about opening up people's minds and imagination. Yeah, teaching some knowledge, but it's about engaging them. I've told many of you before about the story of one of our PhD. I'd love to bring her to the group. She runs this school in Kuala Lumpur where the kids are the center of the education, not the teachers and not the content. They deliver lots of content, but the kids are amazing. From the age of 4, they accelerate. By the time they're 10 and they're doing science or languages, they are buzzing. They are assuming knowledge at a high rate, and girls especially, because girls, as you all know, learn in different ways to boys. So I think this is really important that we have these key messages. So going back to hi Faraz, glad you came back.
Yeah, I lost the internet for a while.
Oh, sorry. So we were just saying, you know, there's key areas. There's education. There's corporate. There's business, entrepreneurship. There's society, and obviously community and society come together. Cultural. One of the things I just learned last week, I wrote it on the chat, but apparently the best seller at Amazon is ebook. Not books, but ebooks. So whether you knew that before or not, but I didn't know it. But literally, people are making thousands of dollars and influenced by making lots and lots of ebooks. Short, you know, not necessarily huge tomes, but significant messages. And it's something I want to do in terms of putting out some of my stuff about authentic harmony and gender dynamics. But just so you know that, that's where people are accessing information and thought processes. So potentially we could also have our own website for authentic harmony with a subtitle, which is education and corporate and whatever it is, all the things. That's something I would think we could put together, because if we're going to have a video or we're going to have a conference, we want to have somewhere where it will come together. So as I say, I want us to be a known voice within the G100. So Elaine, you put a message on there about getting to know the G100 people in your own country. So I would suggest that you take time out and just read on the main G100's website as to what the topics are and who are the other topics that are mainlining in your country. I've been watching them. Some of them, some don't necessarily overlap. We can't solve absolutely everything all at once. We want to look at the underpinning of the value of women with men. That's, for me, it's like, it's, as we've always said, it's a woman-centric view that women are not being honored for their value. I think we focus so much about their role, but their value is everything about our essence as a human being that happens to be female. So it's not decrying the essence of being a human being that happens to be male. It's just that we have innate traits and ways of doing things which are valuable to the economic world and the societal world and the cultural world. So I think maybe what we need to do is to look at who, like Maureen, you said you're obviously got a huge corporate background. My corporate background is as a consultant into the corporate world, as opposed to being an employee or leader in the corporate world. But maybe that's something we could get you to lead on, and maybe education is something, we'll all be part of it, but Chita, maybe that's something you could bring some ideas to us and present, and we can start bringing these ideas together. Because although we have had a heartfelt 9 months, not everybody has run wisdom circles, and that's no critique, but we haven't had as many as I would hope, but we have had some, and we have had a regular monthly one. I'm just about to post the last World Wisdom Circle out. I just got to get somebody to trim it because there's big blanks in it where we had breakout rooms. But Roz was there, Clara was there. It was a very robust conversation about Thanksgiving and trust. So we need to get these dialogues out there in bite-sized pieces. I think I, for one, am not very good at reading a lot. So I need bite-sized, punchy lines. And maybe potentially we could have more ebooks and we can gather those together so that, say, there's 9 of us here, or 8 of us here, but if we have our 17 countries and we actually had a short ebook from each of your regions, and then it becomes more dynamic because we can say, we are covering the world. That's really, although we don't hear from all these countries all the time, we've got those and we need to make the most of it. So we're not just sitting in our own country. We've always got this stream of consciousness coming from other countries. And I would invite you to seek out some of the other names that you'll find on the G100 Positive Masculinity group on LinkedIn and on WhatsApp group, because they're out there and they're suffering. Reach out to Rosa in Brazil and to Marcella in Chile. And also I'm hoping to get more energy input from Ghana and Kenya, and Fumza is really very active in South Africa. And I don't know whether you all saw it, but there was a fabulous interview that she did on the subject of honor. No, not honor, loyalty, sorry, loyalty. And how many of you watched that? Any of you watch it? I posted it up on the WhatsApp group. I will post it again. And the reason I'm inviting you to watch it is that I was present, and there was a lady of my age, a Black lady, and there was 2 45-year-olds, Fumza and another lady, both Black. But we also had a lovely young 21-year-old Black girl. And just the insights from her were fantastic. It's just really worth listening to, because then you get the genuine inside story in another culture. So Fumza is doing a lot of work in different parts of Africa with her job as well. And I know that she will support anything that we do. And we also have the French connection with Pauline in DRC Congo. And I am actually translating my book into French, not personally, but with the help of a little chat GPT, and also somebody who can read it, because I don't read French. So I'm just translating. And then Diane, who's our country chair for France, she's going to check my translation. And then my vision is that I translate it into Spanish and Mandarin or whatever else. And I'm not saying this because my book is the be all and end all, but if we can say, we also speak in multiple languages, I think that will be very powerful as well. Do you? So if anybody knows an easier way of translation, I'll be welcome to your thoughts. But at the moment, I'm doing it paragraph by paragraph with ChatGPT. I just think that if we can hone the key messages and then start translating them into different cultures, and I don't mean just the word translation, but to be sensitive to what's happening in different cultures. Say, for instance, in India, Chita will probably know more about that, but in Bangladesh, in Malaysia, I'm going to bring in somebody from Malaysia from my contacts. I'm just working on that. And also to think about where other countries might be that we could invite in as well. The full list is in the WhatsApp group. So I did speak to Dr. Madalena, who's in Germany. She's just really, really busy at the moment, but she said, I'm still with you in spirit, so that's good. And Adriana, who's the chair for Mexico, is actually here in Las Vegas with me, and she's doing amazing work with Latino authors, so women and men, but the mainly Latino female audiences, to get their voice out there, because the Latino community is not heard. Their voice is not heard. Now, all of our voices are not heard, so we need to think of ways that we can get the voices heard. Val put in the notes that she has 2 stages of separation to Richard Branson.
Yeah. So a couple of my coaches, the woman who founded the organization I trained with, the Women's Leadership Organization, she got invited to Necker Island with Virgin Unite for the work that she was doing. So a couple of years ago, she went out there, or I don't know, the year before COVID, whenever that was. And she was allowed to bring a friend. So this other friend is a coach of mine as well. So both women in the leadership space as well, feminine leadership and soft power leadership, and that, yeah, they know Richard Branson. What can I say?
That's good. That's useful to know. I mean, I do know somebody who potentially knows him, but we need to have the right approach. So I've actually kind of got some homework for you all, because I do want you to read and understand. I would love you to watch that interview that Fumza did. I would love you to read what I wrote about entrepreneurology. I can't remember whether I gave you all the Google Drive link. I don't think I have given that to you, Sheeta. And Carmen's not here, because Carmen's usually my technology connection to the Google Drive. Does anybody have the Google Drive by any chance? No. Can you remember where it is, Clara? She's not. I can't hear you, Clara. This makes.
Yes, I can fish it out now because I've got my Google Drive up. If you just bear with me, I will go in and find it. So what am I looking for?
Well, it should be G100. I wonder if I can find it.
Hang on, inbox, Pauline. You were there already. Hang on.
Clara sent it up so that we could actually post our Wisdom Circle reviews up. But I think today there's not many actually posted up. I still think that oh, there it is. Well done, Dina. How efficient of you. Thank you.
Well, just check that it works.
Okay, so let's have a look. Let's just make sure what's on there. Okay, so there were months there, but I'm not sure whether there's anything in any of them. So that's upsetting. But there's another Google Drive, which, let me see if I can find that. There should be another Google Drive, which is all the folders for.
Yeah, I've got that. Hang on a minute. Let me just go back out because I'm in another place and try G100. Hang on, let's just find the G100. What do you want out of that? I think it's received from Pauline.
It's called G100 training. Is it that one? G100 training, DDI and wisdom circles. That's what I've got here. Let me see if I can get a hold of that. Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah, I've got that one. Yes. Do you want me to post the link in here?
Yes, please.
Right, here we go then. Right, bear with. Yeah, I have to just look it up because it's all a bit.
So you can have a look. Okay, Cheetah, I know you have to go. Send me what you've got in terms of education, and Also look at the Google Drive that Clara's just posted up. So if you take that drive and put any information there, and then just share it with us on the WhatsApp group. So all of you are on the WhatsApp group, and all of you, apart from Faraz, I think, is on the LinkedIn group. But I don't think, Faraz, you use LinkedIn very much, do you?
No.
But that's okay. This is mainly for us gathering any information. So if you have any thoughts about the center of influence that you want to focus on, then post it in the Google Drive and then just send us a link on the WhatsApp group and say, go and read this. Okay. I know WhatsApp groups are really, really annoying because you only see the last message that's there. I don't know how else to do this, but just keep an eye on it. So I would like you to write your thoughts about today. What are your center of influence? Who are the people you want to influence? What keynote would you like to address? I've got lots of keynotes on my YouTube channel. So I'll love you, Cheetah. Don't worry, we'll catch up soon. But thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, because we are working. It's a working time. Some people
Yeah,
are
we'll
waiting
be
outside, my Kevin. So thank you very much. Thanks a lot for everyone. Really
Thank you.
enjoyed conversation, and we'll go ahead from here. Thank you, Dr. Pauline. Thank you.
Chitra, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Clara. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. So I know Google Drives are a bit chunky, but that's the best way of disseminating the information. And I'd like your thoughts on that value proposition that I posted up as well, because that was written way back at the beginning of the year, and things evolve. And the keynotes for me are still positive masculinity is embracing men, authentic harmony is the energy we are starting to place in the world, joint custody world, what does that mean? Who do we need at the table? So maybe if we have a summit, we're saying who do we need at the table? Who are the influencers that we need at the table? If it was Sir Richard Branson, if it was, I don't know, in the education world, I've lost touch of who's the biggest guru in the, if he was still alive, I'd invite Sir Ken Wormson, but we need people who are really initiating amazing things. So we've got the corporate world, we've got the education world, we've got the community world. What other centers?
Well, I mean, with respect, the coaching world is, having a massive impact and influence, on people today.
Yes. But we need to, Anna, who are the top women?
In the top women.
Who's the female equivalent of
Well, we've got
Brené Brown.
Oprah Winfrey. I can never say Oprah Winfrey.
I wouldn't put her in that kind.
No, okay.
Brené Brown is much more suitable.
Okay. No. But I'm just saying who's coming top to mind.
But the corporate leadership, I think that's also where Maureen, you were saying you have some influence, where we can look for the influences there, maybe of different generations.
I would look in the World Bank where I last worked. I would look and see who is in the Organization of American States where I worked. I would look into the Inter-American Development Bank and see that's Latin America and the Caribbean. The Inter-American Development Bank is here in DC, so I can only talk about places that I am familiar with, and they might be able to give me some ideas. The bank has a gender. They have a gender department that deals with gender. Well, about the Organization of American States, they deal with all of the resolutions that they look at or they pass resolutions in order to stop different types of things going on in the world. I can't, so the Organization of American States right down here in DC, I can call and find out what they're doing on these issues and see if they can recommend somebody that I can.
I think I think also it's about looking at the peace connection as well. I wanted to bring that in because I know Feroz is very involved in the peace movements. And I think I've said this many times, but I don't see us ever having peace in the world if we don't have peace between men and women, and we don't have balance between men and women. So maybe there's as well as yourself, or there's other influences, like you were telling me about the world beyond war.
Mm-hmm. And the big impact, the reason we should be worried about peace is whenever there is conflict, whether it's civil war or war between countries, the ones who seem to be getting the brunt of it in terms of human suffering are women.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, the men go out there and they fight, and as do women. But in terms of the impact and the impact on the family and so on, the level of suffering that women have to suffer, even if they're refugees, their ability to, I just participated in a call last week with someone from the US Institute of Peace in DC. And, when you get refugees coming in, you see families traveling for hundreds of miles, and the needs of the females are just totally forgotten, whether it's from a sanitation perspective or anything else.
Yes.
And water and so on. And so peace is very much part of creating the kind of harmony that we're talking of. So it's a separate topic, and I'm involved in all organizations that are trying to stop war and all that other stuff. But it should be part of our broader purview. But again, thinking down to practical things, I'm wondering, you have 7 country chairs. Is there a way we can ask each country chair to identify one, if not several, areas of focus that are relevant to that country or that culture? Because they're different by region or by country.
Yes.
Where is the main opportunity? Where is the change most needed? Is it in the educational system at the primary and secondary school level, or is it to do with empowerment of women in business, or the training women in financial literacy or other things, or opening more doors to them in terms of starting small businesses? Each country has a different set of opportunities.
Yes.
And we need to identify that. I don't think I would call it low-hanging fruit, because it's not always easy to fix those things, but opportunities that need to be addressed, and then put it side by side with the key influences that we might want to try and reach out to in that region or country to assist with that. At least have that understanding so that we can then say, okay, here's a possible action. It may or may not be practical, but let's give it a go.
Well,
So,
I think so, because we could say education is important in all countries, but we don't want to only do education.
but it's too broad.
It's too broad.
How do you get specific? If Chitra has access to, I don't know, the school system in Toronto or whatever, then let's find somebody there locally. It may not cover the whole country, but you have to start somewhere. And identify what needs to be done, what could be done, try and invite some of the people there and influence them to say, okay, we need to educate our young people this way, differently. Or the boys should go to this kind of a program, or whatever, or education for families.
Okay. So I think I want you to make sure you save the chat, because there's lots of commentary in there. And so there's 17 countries, although we don't hear from all the countries. But I want to send an email out to each of you. So I'll send it with this summary. And I want you to choose, and in your regions as well. So it's not just countries, but in your regions, Nina and Val, because we really appreciate this wisdom waterfall. Every area is important. And obviously you can contribute into Clara's initiative. And Maureen, you've got Klarman, obviously. I don't know whether Lucas is doing more. Ritu is your another chair. There's also a lady in Florida who would like to be a Florida chair. I connected you on LinkedIn with her. You don't have to have lots of regions, but obviously in a country like USA, it's so vast. One side is very different to the other. So Elaine, you don't need to have other area chairs at the moment, but it would be good to look at the listings and just see what other chairs are around in your area. Or maybe look at the chair topics and decide which might be related. The reason I got in touch with the sports chair was only at the time because we were looking at the equality of men and women in the sports arena running up to the Women's World Cup. So there may be specific reasons that you relate to another chair. There's always a human rights. If you look at the main categories, then there'll be country chairs for all of those topics. That's the way it works. I want to send your bio and photograph into head office, Elaine. So if you can, I can't remember whether you've sent me that or not, but I just need a headshot and your bio. And then I will send it to Delhi. And then you'll get your banner. And one of the things is I want us to reach out to each other with any information that you come across. Feroz is really good at sending us articles which relate to the UK at the moment, and obviously US as well. And maybe Feroz, we just send those into the WhatsApp group, if you can bear to go into the WhatsApp group.
Okay.
And just keep an eye on it, because Feroz is very good at reading things that I don't read. So it's always useful. And if you see any articles that you think, wow, you know, that's relevant. I actually sent a document to Clara, which I'm happy to post up on the main thing, but I don't know whether it's of interest, but it was talking about the, what's it called? Intersectionalized.
Yeah, intersectional. It was a very complex wording. I
won't send it.
Unnecessarily complex.
It was a bit complex, but it was about how, in overview, I think it was saying
yes,
that when younger women, or rather the new generations of women coming in, see the world, they're more impacted by things in the world than men are. So when you start looking at the marginalization of colored women at work, or sexual preference at work, or whatever it is, these are things that impact their ability to sort of stabilize their values, more or less. So it was a bit complicated, but it came off an academic research paper, and I just thought it was very interesting. We can't assume that everything that happens to women is always the same.
Yeah, no, I thought it was very good. I'm still reading through. I started because you sent it me this morning, and I've had a lot on, but I got up to about page 8, and I thought I'll sit and do that tomorrow.
So if anybody wants to read it, I'll send it to you. But it is interesting, because the issues that we see generally for women being marginalized across the world are not the same for everybody. So Elaine.
Yeah. I have to go now, I'm sorry.
Yes, we're going to close now. So thank you. Thank you for being here. And I hope that was useful introduction to what we're about.
Yeah, I'll send information over to you. And please accept my connection request on LinkedIn. We're not connected on there.
Oh, I can't believe that.
Yeah. So there we go. We're only second connected. That's not good enough.
No, I don't know why that is. I'll go in and find you.
Okay, have a good evening, everybody.
Yes, thank you so much, everybody. I have to jump off because now we're going into my wisdom circle in about 10 minutes.
Okay, so we'll end now. The thing is, there's a lot happening on LinkedIn. I know you're not always on LinkedIn for us, but I've been watching all the stuff that's been going on with Dr. Diallo and the Red Card campaign and all of that stuff. It is quite fascinating. They're allegedly making a lot of changes in Africa with regards to violence against women and girls, but I don't know what's happening on the ground. And I don't know whether the truth on the ground is always the same as what we read.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'd like you to do some homework and understand what we've been talking about, and let's define how we can move towards this this impact actually in action with our influences I really appreciate you all coming here today. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you for us.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, bye, ladies.
Thank
See you
you, Laura. Thank you.
You're welcome. Pleasure.
I'll see you soon, Tara.
Yes, I definitely would love to catch up.
Yeah, we'll do that. I've got to go out now, but I'll catch
Yeah.
up with
Yeah,
But
I've
I
got to
think-
jump on this other call now.